These stunningly beautiful women here are prizes held by that killer group, working for serving every killer. Strangely enough, the group's leader encourages his lackeys to have one-night stands, yet strictly forbids anyone from being in a romantic relationship.
Aşk ancak aptalların tutulacağı bir hastalıktır.
Why on earth is that? A writer was giving an interview. The host asked him what made his blockbuster book so good. The writer replied that the main appeal was the illegal gang he wrote about, a group with no legal authority, that used unlawful means to uphold justice. To put it simply, for people the law can't deal with, this group takes vigilante action, but the writer is strongly against this, believing that social order must be maintained by the law, and vigilante justice shouldn't exist. Jack, a killer, stared at a woman in a bar, lost in thought. The woman noticed someone was watching her, so she took the initiative to approach him, introduced herself as Anna, and asked if they had met somewhere before. Jack replied that they hadn't, and Anna left without saying anything else. At this point, Mary, the bar owner, asked Jack if he wanted to be in a relationship. Jack immediately said he didn't deserve it. He was a warrior with blood on his hands, so why would he deliberately create a weakness for himself? Then Jack checked the information of a man who had committed numerous evils, confirmed the location, and immediately drove there. Jack fought as if possessed by a gunslinger. No matter which direction the enemies came from, he took them down with one shot each. Many didn't even have time to react and draw their guns before becoming Jack's victims. The enemy leader, who saw everything, panicked. He cursed his dozens of underlings as useless in his mind. How could so many people fail to take down just one man? But in reality, they really couldn't. Soon Jack made his way to the leader. The leader was so scared that he kept begging for mercy, offering double the money to spare his life. But Jack immediately shot him dead, then poured a lot of gasoline on the ground. Before leaving, he didn't forget to pick up a cat that had strayed into the soon-to-be fire. The next day, Jack attended a meeting at the group. The boss emphasized again that no one should be in a relationship during work. They were an Avengers alliance and must cut off all romantic feelings. But some people still didn't listen.
Yok ya, savaşçı mısın, minnoş musun?
The boss grew more and more impassioned as he spoke. He argued that marriage was the most useless thing. Within a year or so of marriage, couples run out of things to talk about. He said it was far better to fight for the country and for justice, as that was a lifelong honor. As for why the boss rejected marriage so strongly, it was because he had a wife and kids, and as someone who'd been through it, he'd had enough. Worst of all, Tom from the group had recently fallen in love, and even planned to quit to focus on his family. If people kept leaving like this, who would take the orders? That's why the boss was dead set against anyone dating or getting married. On the other side, Tom took his girlfriend and fled to a remote wilderness area. While he was outside getting some air, he was shocked to see a killer from the group approaching. The killer gestured for him to remove his group tattoo, and Tom did so without hesitation. Then the killer rushed into the house and killed Tom's girlfriend too. By this time, the boss had finished his meeting. Though he forbade his men from dating, he had no problem with them hooking up with women. To that end, he'd specifically kept a group of beautiful women for his men to choose from freely. So long as they didn't catch feelings, it was fine. Most killers thought this was very reasonable and never turned down the women the boss provided. Only Jack was different. But just as someone was about to praise him, a sexy woman showed up at his door late at night, saying she'd been specially sent by the boss for Jack. The woman then went into his bedroom, and Jack gladly accepted her. The next day, Jack went to the bar to pick up a new mission. He looked around for Anna, but Mary told him Anna was on night shift at the hospital, and advised him not to get attached, since Tom, the last person who fell in love, had gone missing. Jack had no idea Tom had been killed by the group, so he didn't take Mary's warning seriously. Just then, Mary pulled out the file for their next target. Surprisingly, it was the writer who opposed vigilante justice. Jack had seen the writer's interview, and thought he might not be a truly evil person, so he went to a bookstore, and bought one of the writer's books. The next day, Jack waited at the bar for someone. Anna wasn't on shift that night, so the two found a place to sit and chat. Jack lied, saying he was a mechanical engineer. Anna didn't question him and told him she worked as an emergency room doctor. As they talked, Jack felt as if he'd fallen in love. Unlike the women the boss provided, Anna was a beautiful angel in white. Just then, Anna said her father would be coming soon, and offered to introduce them. Jack happily agreed, but when he realized Anna's father was the writer, Jack's mind went blank. He forced a smile and greeted the writer. awkwardly mentioning that he'd read his book. The writer, thinking Jack was a fan, launched into his opinions, saying the actions of mafia groups and killer groups were unacceptable, and even many official institutions disregarded the law and resorted to vigilante justice too often. He argued that such a phenomenon shouldn't exist.
Dünyanın hiçbir gelişmiş ülkesinde mafya.
When the writer questioned the mafia's patriotism, Jack immediately retorted, arguing that the law didn't work sometimes. If that was the case, who should uphold justice? The writer admitted he had definitely thought about this question, but still hadn't found an answer. Jack drove to the writer's house. He used a special tool to quietly pick the lock, loaded his gun, and got into the house. As soon as he walked in, he saw a cute kitten. He hadn't expected the writer to like small animals too, which suggested the writer might have a kind heart. As he walked further inside, Jack found the writer's bedroom was filled with photos of Anna, and the writer was praying before bed. Jack really couldn't bring himself to kill someone with faith and kindness, so he later told the boss about this. The boss was furious, saying their group fought for the country and only killed heinous people. He called the writer an obvious traitor, who didn't want society to get better. The boss told Jack to take a few days off, to get his head straight, then hurry up and kill the writer. The next day, Jack went to the writer's book signing and asked how. The writer viewed faith.
Yani laf aramızda dinle minle hiç işim yoktur sevgili dostum. Anlamam da o mevzulardan bilmem yani.
For a moment, Jack felt like he could kill the writer, but this wasn't the right time to act, so he had to leave the signing first. But he saw Anna as soon as he walked out. Jack knew he couldn't be in a relationship, so they only chatted briefly. Anna invited him to her father's birthday party at home the following Tuesday, but Jack declined, saying he was busy with work. Even so, Anna asked him to leave his phone number if his work schedule changed. She really hoped he could come. Jack's heart skipped a beat instantly. He had thought he was a man of strong will, but Anna was just too charming.
Ben hatasız kul olmaz diyorum.
Jack went home with a happy look on his face. He quickly fed the kitten he had rescued from the fire, then read and exercised, looking forward to Tuesday with excitement. During this time, the boss sent many beautiful women to him, but Jack turned them all down. His resolve had long wavered. He thought the boss might not be totally right, and love seemed like a wonderful thing. A few days later, Jack arrived at Anna's house with a gift. The writer loved the gift, and thought Jack was a great young man. After eating and drinking their fill, Jack and Anna went outside to chat, talking about religious beliefs. Anna said her father had a niche faith, and liked to keep it to himself. After speaking, Anna lit a cigarette. It seemed she probably had a lot on her mind too. That night, the two went to a restaurant to drink and eat. Anna wanted to get to know him better, and suggested they be open and honest with each other, but Jack couldn't possibly admit he was a killer, remembering he had lied about being a mechanical engineer before. He talked about working at a construction site. Luckily, he really had certificates for operating various heavy machinery. He talked about these things effortlessly, but afterward, he anxiously mentioned the gap in their social status. He was a worker doing dirty, tiring jobs at a construction site, while she was a respected doctor. He was afraid Anna would look down on him, but Anna said she could tell Jack was gentle and humble toward others, and that she wasn't a shallow person. These words made Jack very happy. After drinking, Anna went home with Jack. As soon as she got into the house, she saw the cute kitten. It was like a mini version of the cat she had at home. Walking further inside, Anna noticed several bookshelves filled with books. She had always thought Jack had a scholarly aura, but she didn't expect him to be so well read. But Anna thought the books weren't arranged properly and looked messy, so she suggested Jack sort them out. But Jack said he had already organized them, though others couldn't see the pattern. He clearly remembered where each book was. Anna immediately tested him, and to her surprise, Jack answered all questions correctly. It seemed that when he wasn't killing people, Jack really spent all his time reading. As they talked, both Jack and Anna wanted to take their relationship further, so they hurried to the bedroom to be intimate. In the days that followed, except for work hours, they stuck together all day. Jack was affectionate with Anna during the day, and turned back into a cold-blooded killer at night. Most incredibly, the reason Jack had licenses for various construction machinery was to make it easier to bury bodies. On the other side, the boss hadn't seen Jack for several days, so he went to ask his son who worked in HR what was going on. But his son only knew how to slack off and take drugs. Seeing his father seemed angry, the son hurried to ask if he should follow Jack. But the boss knew full well his son was incompetent, and snapped at him to stay put. Jack was very powerful, and his greatest skill was detecting being followed, and killing the pursuer in return. That night, the boss called Jack to the group to find out what was going on. Jack still hadn't killed the writer. Was a helpless old man really that hard to kill? Jack said he couldn't bring himself to do it. The boss originally wanted to ease the tension, thinking Jack might be in a bad mood lately, but Jack was firm. He wouldn't let the writer be killed no matter what. The boss knew Jack's strength, and didn't want to break ties with him, so he planned to ask another killer to finish the task. Jack told the boss not to do that.
Öldürmem derken Ölmesine müsaade etmem. O anlamda.
Jack's choice was indeed reasonable. He truly loved Anna, so how could he allow anyone to hurt his future father-in-law? Besides, he had the strength to be arrogant, but the boss got anxious when he heard this, and continued to brainwash Jack with national interests. When that didn't work, he resorted to harsh threats. Jack was tired of listening to his nonsense, and turned around to leave immediately. After calming down, Jack thought the boss might harm Anna, so he suggested Anna leave him, but Anna refused, saying she would never leave him no matter what. Unexpectedly, the boss's useless son Charlie secretly took photos of Jack and Anna being intimate. It's true that the main character's vigilance weakens when in love. Late at night, another killer was about to kill the writer, but was stopped by Jack. The killer firmly believed in all of the boss's decisions, thinking the boss was fighting for the country. So when Jack advised him to go home, the killer started a fierce attack without hesitation. Jack didn't have the heart to kill him, but the other person was attacking relentlessly. Later, Jack took the body to the wilderness, and used an excavator to bury it. The incident left Jack feeling frustrated, so he asked his close friend out to talk. When the friend heard about Jack's situation, he asked why Jack was being so foolish. He could have any woman he wanted, so why fixate on that one woman, even at the cost of betraying the group? The friend advised Jack to forget Anna and break up with her, while their relationship was still new. On the other side, Charlie took the photos to his father and smiled, saying Jack hadn't noticed him at all. The boss scolded Charlie for not obeying. He was already worried about his top man being in a relationship, and his only son was useless on top of that. The boss was so angry that he swore wildly. After chasing his son away, he immediately contacted David, another powerful killer, and told him to come over at once. As soon as David heard this, he quickly finished his current task, and slit his target's carotid artery without hesitation. Anna was abducted by David's men. As soon as she reached the parking lot after work, after being taken to an abandoned warehouse, Anna asked why they had kidnapped her. David told her to figure it out herself. Anna had never made a major mistake at work, so it couldn't be a patient's family seeking revenge, which left only her father. David confirmed it was related to the writer, and also involved Jack, then told her everything. Meanwhile, Jack woke up from his sleep, sensed something was wrong, and quickly grabbed his gun. When he went to the living room, he found the boss had come with his men. The boss threw a stack of photos at Jack, and demanded an explanation. Before Jack could speak, Charlie stepped forward with a lewd look, gloating. The boss didn't want his son to embarrass himself, so he quickly said he would expel Jack from the group. But Jack seemed defiant, so the boss took out his phone and showed him a video. When Jack saw Anna had been captured, his eyes filled with tears instantly. He knew passivity would only lead to death, so he quickly grabbed Charlie nearby and demanded a hostage exchange. But Jack underestimated the boss's cruelty. The boss could see that Jack's close friend couldn't abandon their brotherhood.
Burada böyle kuzu gibi bakıyor.
At this point, Jack finally saw the boss's true colors. The talk of fighting for the country and people was all a lie, and the boss was inherently evil. But Jack gambled that the boss wouldn't give up his only son. He said he would take the task of killing the writer, as long as Anna was released, and after that, he would let the boss do whatever he wanted with him. The boss agreed, emphasizing he never broke his word. He gave Jack only 24 hours. If Jack killed the writer and surrendered, he would tell David to release Anna. Otherwise, Jack would only be able to collect Anna's body. After the boss and his men left, Jack collapsed beside his friend's body and cried bitterly. Shortly after, Jack went to his future father-in-law's house and confessed everything. He said he had never actually gone to college, and had told a small lie before.
Tanıdığım en kültürlü insanlardan birisiniz halbuki.
Jack said he was an orphan. When he was in high school, he and many other kids were adopted by a killer group, where they learned combat, firearms training, and more. But the boss refused to call it a killer group. Instead, he claimed it was a vigilante group that specialized in assassinating villains who had escaped legal punishment. Now, though, it seemed the boss's definition of villain was very vague.
Son görevim de sizi öldürmekte.
Benim mi?
The writer was stunned when he heard this, and demanded to know if Jack had approached Anna just to kill him. Jack denied it, saying he had known Anna many years earlier. Back then, he had been shot and on the brink of death, and Anna had risked her life to save him from death. But after only a few days of recovery, he was arrested and sent to prison. It wasn't until years later, when he saw Anna again, that Jack knew he had fallen for her. Now, Jack handed his gun to the writer, and admitted that Anna had been kidnapped by the group. The writer, furious, shot at Jack, then suddenly collapsed to the ground from a heart attack. Jack gave him emergency first aid, but the writer still died. Jack briefly treated his own wounds, then called the boss via video call, but the boss refused to believe the writer was dead without seeing blood, so Jack had no choice but to shoot the corpse. Only then did the boss, satisfied, tell Jack where Anna was. At the same time, David went to Anna and said Jack would be there soon. He had successfully completed his mission and killed the writer. He told her the group would take Jack into custody, and she would be set free. When Anna heard her father had been killed, she trembled uncontrollably in disbelief. Late at night, Jack arrived at the exchange location. He obediently threw his gun on the ground, and Anna hurried over to hug him, saying she didn't believe anything David had said. She wanted Jack to tell her it was all a lie, but Jack told her to drive away quickly. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, and Anna fell to the ground. Jack collapsed in despair as he looked at David, the shooter, unable to believe the group was so dishonest. But by then, nothing he said would change what had happened. David was about to kill Jack too, but Charlie, eager to prove himself, hurried to say he would handle it. He pulled the trigger without hesitation, then used an excavator to bury Jack and Anna. But soon after they left, Jack climbed out of the dirt. He held Anna's body and cried uncontrollably in agony. At the same time, Charlie and the others went to the bar to drink. Mary asked where Jack was. He used to come to the bar every day, but lately, no one had seen him for days. Charlie smiled and said Jack would never come back. Mary's expression changed instantly. She hurried to the side to call for backup. She first drove to the burial site, while the motorcycle gang she had summoned was speeding toward the location. When Mary and the others found Jack, they were shocked to see him sitting motionless in the pit. He was still breathing, but his demeanor was completely lifeless. Mary hurried to tell her men to lift him out of the dirt. 4 months later, the boss was still holding a meeting with his men.
Ancak aptalların tutulacağı bir hastalıktır.
As he spoke, the boss noticed one of his men acting strangely, so he asked if the man had any questions. The man replied that, when he had visited his mother's grave the previous week, he had seen a sad man standing in front of another tomb. Even though he had only seen the man's back, he had a strong feeling it was Jack. Upon hearing this, Charlie panicked instantly, but David remained calm. He said they had killed Jack months earlier and buried him. Charlie also hurried to explain that he had shot Jack in the face back then. There was no way Jack could still be alive. On the other side, Jack was certainly not dead. He spent most of his time guarding Anna's grave, and the rest of his time tinkering with guns and ammunition, obviously planning to take revenge on the group. Mary tried to persuade him to let go of his hatred.
Onlarla tek başına savaşamazsın.
Oraya geçeli çok oldu.
Mary truly didn't want Jack to throw his life away. She told him to move to a new city and start over, but Jack refused. He wouldn't let a single one of the group's cold-blooded members get away. Late at night, thunder crashed, lightning flashed, and a strong wind blew. A killer, awakened from his sleep by a sense of danger, grabbed his gun and went outside to search. Little did he know Jack was already behind him. Jack kicked him flying, then shot him without mercy. Fearing the man might survive like he had, Jack fired a few extra shots to make sure. The next day, one of the killers was hitting on a beautiful woman. They had even agreed to get a room together that night. Unexpectedly, Jack had set up his gun in the distance. After confirming the enemy was dead, Jack went after another killer to take his revenge. When the killer saw Jack, he hurried to explain that he hadn't known David would kill Anna. But Jack didn't care. He immediately stepped forward and grappled with the man. The killer didn't want to die, so he quickly grabbed an axe and fought back with all his strength. He was somewhat skilled, but he was no match for Jack, who was filled with rage. Soon, the killer was beaten into complete helplessness. Without hesitation, Jack raised the axe and chopped off the man's head. Blood splattered onto Jack's face, but it still couldn't ease the hatred in his heart. On the other side, David was listening affectionately to his girlfriend's ramblings. At first, he was relaxed, but suddenly he tensed up and looked warily outside. He quickly turned off the TV and walked cautiously toward the window. His girlfriend asked what was wrong. David replied that it was nothing and told her to go ahead to the cafe they usually visited and wait for him. But his girlfriend wanted to take a shower before leaving. David said that wasn't possible, they had to leave right now. But his girlfriend refused, insisting on showering and changing clothes first, and kept rambling on. David was truly helpless.
Sevgilim,
Efendim,
sus lütfen.
susayım.
Yoksa öleceğiz.
Susayım.
His girlfriend was still refusing and kept talking, so David had no choice but to shoot her dead. He sadly stroked her face, then looked around as if searching for something. When he heard the sound of a gun being cocked, he knew Jack had come back for revenge, and that was exactly what had happened. David was just about to say something to calm Jack down, when his girlfriend on the ground suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. David took the opportunity to grab Jack's gun. In the end, neither gained an advantage, so they engaged in a fierce hand-to-hand fight. David managed to get a knife and stab Jack, then delivered a powerful blow that knocked Jack to the ground. To kill Jack once and for all, David reached for the gun on the ground, but Jack picked up a fire poker and knocked him unconscious. with the gun now in his hand. Jack knew there was no time for more talk, so he quickly pulled the trigger and killed David. Now that the tough underlings were mostly dealt with, Jack rushed into Charlie's office. Charlie was shocked and tried to draw his gun to fight back, but he was the weakest in the group. Jack easily snatched the gun from him, then pinned Charlie to the ground and brutalized him. The boss received a box. He opened it suspiciously, and was horrified to find Charlie's 2 hands inside. He was so angry he nearly ground his teeth to dust. Just then, Jack called him. The boss answered and asked what Jack wanted. Jack only said that only one of them would survive. After hanging up, the boss immediately gathered all the group's killers. Late at night, a bulldozer slowly approached the group's base, and the boss ordered everyone to open fire. Later, one of the killers got in the bulldozer to check, only to find that the person shot to death was Charlie. When the boss learned his son was dead, he flew into a rage and vented his anger wildly. At the same time, Jack neatly took down the guards outside, then rushed into the group with 2 guns in hand, mowing down enemies with his excellent marksmanship and agile movements. On the other side, the boss stood guard at the door with a gun, refusing to believe he couldn't kill Jack. Soon the door opened, and the boss pulled the trigger without hesitation. Unluckily, he accidentally killed his own trusted lackey. Jack took the opportunity to shoot the boss and knock him down. The boss knew he was defeated and could only beg for mercy. He claimed to be Jack's father and said he had given Jack a second chance at life, but Jack paid no attention to his nonsense. He quickly pulled out a dagger and ended the boss's life. Soon after, special forces arrived at the scene. They walked through the piles of corpses and found the dead boss. Jack picked up the photos Charlie had taken, stared at them for a long time, and finally put them down unwillingly. That's where the movie ends. It's surprising that in 2025, there are still such cliched movies. Luckily, the action scenes are smooth. If you overlook the cliches like the main character being too overpowered, and the mandatory death of the girlfriend, it's a satisfying watch overall. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.